Hey folks, and good evening. Earlier today, we had a new corrupted signal data pack drop in game. It is aptly named the corrupted signal data pack, and you would think, being named the corrupted signal data pack, that this would be the first pack that CG releases on corrupted signal data, but that is just not the case. And you would also think that something named corrupted signal data pack would honestly be very easy to value and would not cause or have a need to have a video attached to it. And in that case, you would be wrong because the corrupted signal data pack is probably one of the most convoluted packs I've seen in a while. And we're going to talk about why I like it, but also why I'm kind of disappointed in CG for doing it. And at the same time, I am going to say right up front that I'm actually going to value it twice. I'm going to value it with two different value numbers for corrupted signal data, and we'll talk about why when we get there. So with that said, stick around and let's talk about it. So here we have the corrupted signal data pack. It's 2,999 crystals. It's not bad because it is technically free, right? It is a crystal pack. But when we look at this thing, we see that you are going to get two cards, okay? And that first card guarantees a set of 5 corrupted signal data, 25 flawed signal data, 35 incomplete signal data, and 50 fragmented signal data. And on its own, that looks rather nice. Card 2, however, only gives you one of these things, right? 20% chance for 3 corrupted signal data, 20% chance for 10 flawed signal data. It is a single roll here. Now, that is not actually my problem with this pack. My problem is if we were to head on over here to those potential drops, the minimum numbers are actually the numbers with all of these card 2 things included. So with that said, the minimum number of corrupted signal data on this pack isn't actually 8, it's 5, right? Because you might not get a corrupted signal data roll on card 2. The flawed signal data minimums isn't actually 35, it's 25. And in that way, CG has been really disingenuous about this. Now, I have seen other packs that look like this. They are few and far between. I don't like it. I do consider it false advertising. Legality wise, it is for crystals, it is not for money. So I'm sure that there is some reason that they're able to skirt around that. And again, look, I'll be honest. I tend to give CG my full faith in terms of not deliberately doing things like this. So I really am hoping that this is an error that will be fixed in future runs of the pack, but it does feel grimy to me. Now, with that said, when we talk about the value on this pack, I actually think it's a fairly good deal. And what we're going to do when we talk about those valuations is actually value it in two different ways. So let's pop on over to my charts and let's explain. Now, if we go over to my raw data here, we can see that I am valuing corrupted signal data at 362 crystals. Ooh, wrong thing. 362 crystals per corrupted signal data. And what that value equates to is the price to purchase signal data if you need to purchase it in bulk. And some people don't like that because they argue that you can farm this through farming signal data. My argument is that if you are farming corrupted signal data, you are missing out on an opportunity cost on what is essentially the most limiting currency in the game, right? Signal data. So that is why I typically value corrupted signal data as 362.5 crystals. However, I do know that some people talk about the farming value of signal data. And if you want to talk about the farming value of signal data, and we've talked about this on video before, we can use the number 235.2 as our farming cost for corrupted signal data. And just in case you didn't know, we want to do that with fragmented data, not with incomplete or flawed data, because the drop rates don't commiserate with the increased value that those items give to the conversion. So you're only ever going to convert fragmented signal data unless you're in an absolute bind. So we're going to talk about this sheet in terms of both values. Right. So rest assured, if you don't like one of those values, you can talk about it from the other valuation. So let's pop over and let's talk about it from my valuation, which is 362 crystals per corrupted signal data. We'll head on over to our normal packs archive. We're going to head on to the corrupted signal data pack, which is right here. We're going to pop it on the screen and make sure that it fits on the screen. There we go. This might be a little confusing to look at because I haven't labeled everything other than by color. So if you're looking at the purple, we are looking at the corrupted signal data packs. If you're looking at the gray, we are looking at the gray fragmented signal data overflows, I guess we can call them. If we're looking at the green, we are talking about the middle one. I don't remember what it's called, green signal data. And if we are talking about the blue, we are talking about flawed signal data. So actually, now that I remember, corrupted, fragmented, incomplete, and flawed. Right. And on the bottom, we have our better, stronger overflows, so our 5% packs. And if we look at this from the cost analysis of that 362.5 valuation, we see that typically at a low, we are going to get an increased value of 43.8%, right, from all of these overflows. The corrupted signal data overflow is going to give us an increased value of 70%, up to a maximum of 95% if you get lucky and you get the 5% corrupted signal data pack. For a crystal pack, a valuation of 70 to 95% is actually pretty good. If this was a money pack, I'd say it's average. Like, it's nothing to write home about, but it's also nothing to scoff about. But as a crystal pack, which generally has a little bit of a lower valuation overall, this is not too terribly bad if you have the crystals to spare. When we look at the expected value on this pack, and you can buy it 3 times, we are looking at an expected value of 4,610 crystals, or a value increase of 53.74%. So if you are somebody that is looking for corrupted signal data, if you are an end game player, this is definitely a pack that is worth it for you. Now, if you are somebody who, like, we don't really care about corrupted signal data right now, maybe you're in the mid game and a Relic 10 just is not in your immediate radar, or even in your 6-month plan, or even in your year plan, then maybe this is not so great. And if we take that value of the corrupted signal data out, we see that we are actually getting a negative valuation on everything else. Again, the only person that should think about things in that regard are players who Relic 10 is nowhere near on the radar, and it's just something that they should not be thinking about at all, because we don't want to talk about the valuation of something a year from now if a year from now we have 2 more Relic levels and Relic 10 has been devalued and is easier to get. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, if we want to talk about this valuation from more of a farming perspective, so 235.2 is our number to go to. We're going to crack that in here. 235.2. And if we look at this from a value standpoint for farming value of corrupted signal data, we see that at its lowest valuation, we're getting about 22.5% increase in value over just buying signal data outright, or with corrupted signal data, it would be farming it. With the other 3, it would be with buying it. Up to about a 36.1% valuation if you get the corrupted signal data overflow. If you get really, really lucky, if you get the really nice 5% corrupted signal data pack, we're looking at about a valuation of 51.78%, right? Our expected value is 3,865, and our value increase on that expected value is 28.91%. Now, if you value this pack at farming value, 28% as an expected value is honestly not that great when we look at the maximum value as being somewhere around 50%. Normally, when we see a pack like this for crystals, we want to see an expected value that maybe is around here, around 30%, but we want to see a jackpot that is much more significant than that 51%. If that jackpot was somewhere around, 100%, somewhere around 120%, I would say, hey, that's really awesome. So essentially, if you're looking at farming value of corrupted signal data, I would say not that this is a pass, but it's not the greatest deal in the world. All of that to say, however, is that if Relic 10 is on your radar, if Relic 10 is something that you need, signal data probably is at a huge premium for you. So the TLDR here for you guys who maybe are just kind of skipping around. If you are somebody that is in the early to mid game and Relic 10 is not on your board, it's not on your bingo card, it's nowhere in your future, maybe you're going to pass on this pack. If you are somebody who is in the end game and you are constantly begging for more signal data, you are going to value this pack really highly because you are going to get a lot of signal data, corrupted signal data, and at a very nice valuation. If you are somebody that's a little bit more frugal with your crystals and you're looking at this from just the farming perspective and you're not really caring about store valuations, the value increase here, not as great, but it is still positive. Keep all of those things in mind. And as always, if you found this helpful, hit that subscribe button, help me out, share the video, and yell at me in the comments. With all of that said, peace out and have a great rest of your night.